Hi, everybody. This is going to be your last anatomy lecture. I just want to tie up all the various parts that we've been working on over the course of the semester. So you guys are all familiar with our skeleton here, okay? Our very strangely shaped bones that I've been saying have a meaning to them, okay? Our various types of joints, the type of movement that occurs at these joints, um, and also the reference points that you guys have been seeing repeatedly through the anatomy packets. Let me see if I've got an example here. So this anatomy packet that I had you highlight, okay, as part of the homework. And you'll notice that all the text that has been underlined with a bold line, those are all areas that are reference areas to pay attention to. We've been working on the bones, and where it's mostly subcutaneous, there's just bone being covered by skin. Here's this iliac ridge that I've been talking to you guys about, right? With the iliac spines, the pelvic points right here, which demarcate the top part of the pelvic box, this theoretical pelvic box. There's a center line of the sternum, right? You'll also see the clavicles exposed as well. They actually do get covered by a thin muscle called the platysma, but in general, you find that easily on the model. There's the pit of the neck here, the sternal notch. So you're familiar with that. Now, what I want to talk about is the rest of the tissues which are connecting the bones, first of all, okay? So we have ligaments that's like it's almost like plasticky almost. It's flexible and it holds bones together. So here's a little illustration here. This is coming from Dr. Frank Netter's book called The Atlas of Human Anatomy. He's my favorite. So you can see here, there's a ligament covering the bones at the joints and essentially holding those bones together. Okay, we're not that worried about that. The time when you think of ligaments is if you're maybe exerting a force on the body that is so powerful that could actually rip those ligaments apart. That's for extreme cases. Good to know, good to know. But in general, we're gonna be thinking more about musculature. So we've got these muscle bundles here, creating various muscle groups, which will be used to create motion, all right, enable motion to happen. So these muscle bundles are all held together in place, all right? We just think, oh yeah, muscles, yeah, they're there, right? But the body has to actually have this kind of tissue called fascia, all right? Fascia is this thin, almost kind of membrane looking stuff, and it holds the muscles in their position throughout the body. So this configuration here that you're seeing is not by chance. They all have these certain shapes to them, these muscle groups. And that's because the fascia is like this, it's almost kind of like a skin almost that's holding everything, holding all those shapes in place. So even if you're creating muscle contractions and relaxations, right, for various muscle groups, they're always holding a certain kind of shape. They're not just splaying out. The way that you know this is if, let's say, you get like a raw chicken leg, and if you were to slice, remove the fat and then slice through across the grain of the muscles, you'll see that there's a thin skin that's holding that leg muscle together. And then when you cut through that thin membrane, you'll see that the muscle fibers will just splay out like this. Okay, so that's how you can tell what fascia is like. all right? So we also have tendons, and you're gonna see right here that there's the muscle bundle, the muscle bundles, okay, these arrangements of muscles. The muscle bundles are actually even smaller. There's like these striations that you see here, these finer striations. But here you're gonna have tendon. So this stuff right here is tendon. And tendon is what connects muscles to bone, all right? So we've just covered a bunch of connective tissue here. There's the ligament, which holds the bones together, holds them together at the joints. And then we have the tendons, which attach muscles to bone. All right, you got that? So see here, you can see even in this area where the clavicle attaches to the sternum, that right there, that's ligament. So, so now that we've covered those various types of connective tissues, now I want to go over one group, one muscle group, so that you can at least get a taste test of what it is to understand one group of muscles, all right? Because this class is meant to pretty much plant a seed for eventually being able to understand the entire human body, just little by little. But you have to start with one example first, learn it very well, and I hope that you'll go through these exercises with me. I'll have you actually touch various parts of your body so that you can understand the difference between the various types of tissue, okay? So, so these are the parts that are holding the body together, okay? Ligament, tendon, fascia, all right? The muscles, okay? But we haven't even gone over fat either. So fat's another type of tissue in the body. Now, fat is a semi-liquid. So a semi-liquid means it's not like just plain old water. Fat cells can actually hold and retain water, aside from just the fat itself, okay? Which could make the forms of fat on a body seem even more watery, really like liquid, right? When the person moves, you can see the fat really moving around as if you're tossing liquid from the body forms, right? But there's various layers, okay? So you'll have the fat, then you'll also have the skin, which encases everything. And essentially, if you can get your mind to think about those various components, the rigid structure of the skeleton, then the plastic covering that holds the bones together, all right? Then the tendons that attach muscle groups to the bones, and then the fascia, which holds all the shapes of the muscles in place. Then the layer of fat, which is in various deposits, various thicknesses that are underneath the skin, all right, which is holding the form of the body together. Okay, so just think about that. It's layers. Thinking more in a three-dimensional X-ray kind of fashion. You know, when you look at a person now, you're not going to be just seeing their skin. You're like, oh, they're really cute. Okay, you're going to be thinking about how they're made, and it's a three-dimensional type of understanding. There are many factors involved, and you're seeing that it takes time just to understand one thing to be able to connect it to another. And what will happen is, if you can think in a three-dimensional way, your work will have an essential type of foundation, which will give it an enormous sense of power and reality, which, I mean, you can do whatever the heck you want with it, okay? So I want to just show you, just really quickly, this is that X-ray type of thinking that I'm hoping you'll eventually evolve into. So you see the outlines of your model here, and you can see their bones, okay? So wherever the model had tape, right? Like let's say on the clavicles, you'd have to correlate, oh, that's where the clavicle begins, draw out the clavicle, and you're thinking about those three-dimensional shapes interacting with each other underneath the skin of that model. This is all student work from an anatomical illustration class, okay? So here you can see the fascia here, okay? The fascia lata. Lata just means side, all right? Side fascia holding these muscles in place. You see the various muscle groups, okay? So this is kind of where we've been going towards. I don't expect you to know all this, but that's where we've been going towards when I've been asking you, draw some of those muscles, especially the ones where you see indications of shadow and highlights on your reference photos, so that you can start to map out where things really exist. Okay, we're not going for fantasy and such. We're going for pragmatic reality. All right, that way your mind has something to really anchor onto. You know, you can make whatever fantasy creatures or beings that you want, but this is how you start that seed of knowing how to create something, okay, profoundly. So here we've got our skeleton, okay, and I want to talk about the biceps brachii, right? So I've got a photo here. So we've got our image coming from Atlas of Human Anatomy by Dr. Frank Netter, who you know is a surgeon. So his illustrations are just exceptional. And these are all hand watercolored, right? So here I'm gonna show you the biceps brachii. Now on the model, it's gonna be this muscle here, this muscle group right here. You can feel it, okay? I'm pinching it right now. That's around the thickest area of that muscle. You're gonna see it here, okay? So it's underneath this deltoid. All right, remember the deltoid that I went over? It's that kind of like cupping muscle for the shoulder. So underneath that is going to be the biceps brachii. Here's another example too. So you can see it in black and white. I mean, gray, you know, no color, monochromatic, right? You see right here, and then you see it there too. This little group right here, okay? So the biceps brachii, bicep meaning two, brachii meaning arm, all right? Two arms, right? Create this little muscle group right here. And what it is that there are two attachments, okay? There are two bundles that are attaching in different places. So when it comes to anatomical language, the language is origin and insertion. So wherever a muscle originates, it's going to be closer to the mid core of the body, all right? And then when it is inserting into another part of the skeleton, that is the distal or farther away part of that section of the body. That makes sense? Okay. So so our origin of the short head, okay, the short head muscle, all right, you can see here, is the coracoid process. So the coracoid process right here is this little baby right here. It's the, oops. So it looks like a little beak, okay? And it's attached to the scapula. All right, that's your shoulder blade. So it's pushing forward here, and believe it or not, you can actually feel it. So if you were to stick your finger right here. All right, it's underneath the deltoid. You can feel it. When you poke at it, you know, you got to relax this area too, okay? Because there's the, yeah. You can feel this little hard bone in there, where you got to really relax. All right, probably lean your arm against a table and then feel it. Let all these muscles relax here and then feel it. It's this little hard knob, okay? So that's where you're getting the short head attachment. I'm going to remove this muscle so you can see. The short head attachment is right there. Okay, so it's going here, and then it's inserting, remove this, it's inserting into this tuberosity of the radius. Okay, remember the radius, that this joint right here is kind of like a bowl, and that it articulates by rotating. Okay, it rotates at this juncture, right? So the muscle is going to be attached here. You see the little knob, okay? It's knobby and there's a rough surface to that, okay? So I'm going to put a little piece of tape there so you can see where that is, all right? So, and then I'm also going to put a little piece of tape here too so you can see where the chromium process, excuse me, the coracoid process is. Okay, coracoid process. So there to there. Okay, now we've got the other head of the muscle, and that is going to be, I gotta take my little tape, it's going to be up here. Okay, the supraglenoid process right there. Okay. Oh, excuse me. It's called the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, right there. Okay, so right here, this is so it's just above the socket of the ball and socket joint at the right here at the shoulder. Okay, so it's just above there. So what happens is that from this point where it's attaching, okay, and you always know where attachments are on the skeleton because you're going to see a rough texture. You can feel it. That's where tendons are attaching to the bone. So here you can see the tendon is actually going to be laying into this groove here. So there's a groove. There's a groove right here in this bone. All right. I'm sorry, this is not sticking well. Okay, there we go. So it's going to go over this groove. Okay, and you can see right here, attaching here, origin here. All right, tendinous area here. Okay, it's going to feel cord-like. Then there's the muscle belly. And then this part is actually going to be attaching this way. So it's kind of, there's an aponeurosis, okay, bicipital aponeurosis. It's a thin sheet of connective tissue, and you don't see it on this model, but it's actually more like this. So it goes like that. Sometimes you'll see it layered over. Sometimes people have it layered down underneath. But essentially what it is that it attaches the deeper fascia, which is holding these medial muscles, all right, the ones closer to the body, together. Okay, so it's not, it's tendon-like, but it's in that it's connecting a muscle to, it's actually connecting muscle to like the fascia. All right, so it's a little different. Okay. This is not as common as these tendons, right? So this is quite interesting. Much of the time, if you think about body movement, much of the time, the minimum for a muscle to be able to produce movement in the body, you have to at least have the muscle attaching to one bone and then attaching to the next bone over a single joint. That is how you produce movement. Now, that's the minimum, that a muscle has to attach from one bone to another over a joint. Okay. this grouping is interesting because it does not just connect over one joint. All right, so here it's connecting to the scapula, right? Two connections at the scapula. But it's actually connecting to the next joint, right? Over the, it's connecting over to the radial bone, right? The radius. So it's going over that elbow joint area. Okay. So this grouping is actually quite strong. The thing is that if you overwork it, you can actually rip muscle, you can actually rip tendons. So there is a limit to how much you can do. All right. So I think the last thing I want to say is that this bicep, right, has this interesting feature where there are two bellies to it. But medically, it has been found that you can have up to seven bellies, 7 major bellies of this muscle group. So that part I'm not really sure about. I haven't really researched it. It could be working out a lot that creates those extra bellies. I don't necessarily promote trying to produce a ton of muscles because there are a lot of possible health risks with trying to overwork the body and make it do more than what it naturally would do on a day-to-day basis. So that's really something a person has to work out with like a health practitioner who's really researched all that. I don't necessarily promote that lifestyle because if it's not done properly, you could even, it's just not healthy. Okay, so there is a healthy way, but that's not my place to say. So how to do that. All right, so either way, those are the various types of connective tissue, all right? Now what I want to do is make sure that you understand how this bicep muscle displays contraction, relaxation, and then semi-contraction. Okay, so what's happening here? We have these various groups of muscles. Now the thing is that our muscles are in either one of those 3 categories. Okay, contraction, relaxation, semi-contraction, or semi-relaxation. Okay, you could say 4. But the point is that, can you discern the difference? So I'm going to show you what you can do to be able to discern the difference. First of all, you know, I just had you touch where the origin of the coracoid process is, right? It's deep in there, all right? But let's go to the easier one, this tendon right here. So if you do this, you do a full contraction here, you're gonna feel a tendon here. So it's right above the crease of the elbow. And when you do this, you can feel it. You see how I'm pinching it right here? There's a thickness right there. All right, that's the tendon of the bicep. Okay, and remember how I told you it feels like plastic, and it's not that flexible. All right, it's for attachment purposes. Okay, you feel that? It's hard. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your hand out, rotate it out this way. Okay, then you're gonna lift your arm. You're gonna press your fingers against this area, and you're gonna feel this bicep muscle, that it's springy. When you push against it, it pushes back against your fingers, okay? And you're gonna feel tension there, right? So that's like there's contraction going on there. So it's a semi-contraction, partial contraction, all right? There's a certain amount, but it's not complete. It's not full, total contraction. Now what we're gonna do, okay, is we're going to contract all the way. Now, I'm going to remove my fingers now. So you're going to feel that. You feel how this mass here has gotten thicker in this dimension and also taller. Okay, so you're going to feel that. Okay, then you're going to relax the hand and then let this extend out. All right, feel the difference from this to this and really contract here. Like try to make this baby really get pumped up, okay? Feel that. So this is semi-contraction, all right? This is full. So put your hands and feel the difference between the two. How much that shape changes. Okay, now that shape change is occurring because when we rotate out like this and we pull up like that, the force of gravity is pushing down on the muscle in this direction. So it's pushing down directly on it. And for the arm to lift up, it has to pull all this weight up this way against the force of gravity. So that's one of the pressures that that we are experiencing all the time. Okay, so muscles respond to pressure. They contract when they experience pressure. Gravity being a source of pressure is the reason why you get these semi-contractions, okay, occurring when you move your body. That's how we lift ourselves up. We're lifting against the force of gravity, okay? So now we're gonna do a complete relaxation. So if you were to do this, right, there's a certain amount, there's resting here, and depending on whether if you're pushing this down, pushing your shoulder down or what, you're gonna feel various levels of contraction or relaxation here. Depends on how much you're swinging your arm out or back, okay? If you swing it back, you're gonna feel back and down, you're gonna feel less contraction. If you do this, lifting it up a little bit, you're gonna feel a little bit more contraction. It all depends. You can relax or contract that area. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rest my arm, okay? So you see how I'm rotating my arm here, right? I'm resting my elbow on this sculpture stand, and you see how gravity is going down this way, and my muscle belly here of the bicep is falling down with the direction of gravity coming down. You see that? It's no longer facing up and, you know, having the force of gravity pushing down on it. It's like this right now. So feel this area. Really be sure that the weight of your bones is really here on a table or counter. So feel that. All right, you see how this flesh is moving around a lot? All right, there's fat there, but there's also relaxed muscle there. So I'm able to move all that pretty easily. Okay, so these are various situations where the weight of this arm is now being supported by something else outside of my body. And thus the muscles in this area do not have to work as much. So feel that. Wiggle it around. Don't be embarrassed. Okay, be curious. It's got a totally different kind of feel to it, internal feel. Okay, so so that's relaxation. Okay, then semi-contraction, then full contraction. And your forms of your muscles, okay, so if I do this, and it's not totally relaxed here. What's gonna happen is, this is my triceps relaxed, okay? So now I'm rotating this so my tricep area is down here. This is an easy way to see relaxation. You see this? Relaxed, okay? So when a muscle group is totally facing gravity and you're getting full contraction there, or actually it doesn't matter with it. You don't have to do full contraction to feel this. But if you do semi-contraction, that's enough. This bottom part, it will be hanging because it doesn't have to work. you understand? It's not feeling the pressure of gravity on it. This side is, you get relaxation. So when you are looking at the body, you're going to think about which part is working against gravity the most, and which part is the most relaxed. That will change the quality of form, the line quality that you're seeing in these body profiles. All right, you get it? So when you are, let's say, sculpting Mia, and she has a certain amount, she's got a lot of muscle, but also a certain amount of fat pad as well, okay? Here, this area right here, you're gonna get the hanging down of fat cells, you know, encased by skin. So here you're gonna get a hanging look. Remember how I said that the fat cells can contain water and they're semi-liquid, okay? So depending on the component, the amount of water or fat within the fat cells, okay, and the mass of muscle too that's hanging here around the bone, from the bones, you're going to get a certain amount of hanging, all right, and it's going to create a certain type of linear quality, which is going to be closer to a round, all right, because a liquid wants to create a circle. If you put a little droplet of water on a counter that's non-absorbent, you'll see that it wants to create a bead of water. So just think of that the fat is closer, more akin to water in its linear and physical properties as opposed to the other parts of the body. Okay, so so yes, so just think about what kinds of linear qualities you're seeing in the body. If you get short, hard, more angular type of shapes, typically that's where you're getting muscle contraction. Okay, so you're going to get around the standing leg, you're going to get contraction here with the knee muscles that support the patella. They're going to get pulled tight, harder types of lines. Okay, wherever there's more relaxation, you're getting softer lines. All right, lines that are hanging down. Okay. So I hope this helps, and good luck with all.